Hello, viewer. This is Mamta Sharma from HR Support Foundation, and we are so delighted to bring to you True Talks, a special interview series where we answer various questions on different themes to understand self and life. To answer our questions, we have with us Nitin Shah, founder and director of iCharts and iChart Support Foundation. Welcome once again, Nitin, to True Talks.
Thank you, Mamta.
And welcome all of you to the 13th episode of True Talks, in which today we are going to talk about addictions from compulsion to freedom. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below and we'll answer them during the interview. You can also start a watch party while you're watching the video so that your friends and connections can also benefit from this discussion. So, Nitin, yesterday we spoke about, you know, uh, weight management. And while
True.
talking about that, we also, was started talking about how people could be addicted to food, which brings up all other addictions too. And you said that we'll talk about addictions in our today's discussion. So, can you first define for us what addiction actually means?
So, Mamta, there are a lot of technical definitions of addiction, right?
Hmm.
But I'm going
Hmm.
to keep it simple for the sake of understanding right now.
Hmm.
Um, and the simplest way that I would define addiction is when you are not able to stop yourself from
Hmm.
doing something that
Hmm.
you really don't want to do, or is
Hmm.
bad for you, or is causing harm to you.
Right.
And you're not able to do it because
Hmm.
not doing it creates either an emotional or a physical craving,
Hmm.
or when you stop doing it, it creates
Hmm.
what is known as withdrawal symptoms.
Right. Can you explain what do you mean by physical craving and emotional craving?
Correct. So, when not being able to do something
Hmm.
creates a sense of emotional vulnerability to the
Hmm.
extent that your life completely starts revolving around that substance or that behavior that
Hmm.
you're addicted to,
Hmm.
right? Uh,
Hmm.
and that emotion is because it's very intense.
Hmm.
It ends up creating like an emotional imbalance in your life, which completely disrupts your life.
Right. Okay.
That will be emotional
Next.
craving. And a
Hmm.
physical craving will be when your body physically starts craving for that substance. You know how a lot of times people say that my body needs that level of nicotine when they're talking about smoking?
Right. Right.
It's almost like their body is something different from them, and it's the need of the body to have it. It's almost like your body requires food when you are
Hmm.
hungry. It's
Hmm.
almost like bodily requirement. That's when it becomes physical craving.
Right. And what about withdrawal symptoms?
So, see, cravings come before the addiction. It's because of cravings why you are having the substance that you're addicted to,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Withdrawal symptoms is what happens when you don't fulfill that addiction. So, your body starts going through certain unpleasant feelings, certain sensations,
Hmm.
and these feelings and sensations at times are so strong that even if
Hmm.
you're able to control your craving,
Hmm.
the intensity of the withdrawal symptoms then push you back into your addiction.
All right. Okay. Okay. So, Nitin, this also tells me, that there's a difference between habits and addictions. While they're both
Hmm.
repetitive behaviors, in habits, I will not have cravings and withdrawal symptoms, right?
Correct. So, habits, you will not have like withdrawal symptoms which are so heavy, which is one.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
second, habits can also be positive, but
Hmm.
addictions by definition would be dysfunctional.
Right. And what is it that makes addiction so difficult to give up that we, need a separate system, a separate environment, and everything else to overcome them?
See, like I said right now, that a lot of these addictions are driven by the emotional and physical cravings that we have. So,
Hmm.
this cycle of craving and withdrawal symptoms
Mm-hmm.
is what is creating like a very bad and a very intense loop. So, people have
Mm-hmm.
craving, and because of the craving, they want to have the substance
Hmm.
or they want to indulge in that behavior, even if they
Hmm.
are able to control that craving.
Mm-hmm.
The withdrawal symptoms become so unpleasant that in order to avoid the withdrawal symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
people then go back into using the addictive substance.
Right.
right?
Right.
And because of this cycle, it becomes very difficult for people to break through it, especially if it's reached the level of addiction.
Hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense. So you are saying that addictions are not only mental, not only at a mental level, but also at a physiological level. So they're like present at both levels.
So generally, as the addiction becomes more and more intense, you will actually
Hmm.
notice that if it's a physiological addiction, it would lead to emotional addiction also. And if it's an emotional addiction, it would eventually lead to physiological symptoms also, as long as it's
Mm-hmm.
becoming very.
All right. All right. And like, so what happens? Let's go back to the beginning. And why do people become addicted in the first place?
Um, all right. So there are a couple of things. There is one that
Hmm.
obviously there is a repetition of behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which can be using substance, which can be, uh, yeah, it can be basically using a particular substance over and over again, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and at the same time, the mind also associates certain positive emotions to it, pleasant
Hmm.
feelings to it.
Right. Right.
So, what really happens in most cases is while we think that people are addicted to the substance, which they
Hmm.
are, but that
Hmm.
substance is also helping them fulfill that physical or emotional feeling that they're deriving out of that substance. And what they are
Hmm.
many a times really addicted to is that
Hmm.
feeling which is associated to the associated to that substance or that behavior.
Hmm. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, does that also mean that even in cases where there are physical cravings, the emotional part, the emotional craving is still significant, important? We need to pay attention to that.
Correct. So even in case of cigarettes, where people say that my body requires that level of nicotine, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Even over there, when they started smoking for the first time,
Hmm.
they would have got something in return with that smoking, right? Which was more psychological.
Hmm. Hmm.
Otherwise, we all
Correct.
know smoking is bad for us. So then, why did the person start smoking in the first place? Either
Hmm.
they felt it's cool or they felt that my friends do it, so even I should do it. But they were
Hmm.
looking for some psychological comfort or some psychological benefit out
Hmm.
of that particular behavior,
Hmm. Hmm.
which then means
Right.
that obviously the emotional craving plays a very important role even in cases where there are physical cravings. Plus, that's
Right.
also the reason why you will notice the chances of relapse
Hmm.
in addictions is very high. And in
Hmm.
cases relapse doesn't happen,
Hmm.
there is a very high possibility of substance substitution. So
Hmm.
the person may quit one substance, they may quit cigarettes, and they may
Hmm.
end up picking up tobacco, or
Oh
they may end
yes.
up picking up chewing gum,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But they are trying to substitute that original substance with something else because the mind is now trying to fulfill the same positive feelings or achieve the same positive feelings that it was
Hmm.
achieving through that substance earlier, through a new substance now. Which then again means that the reason why they're able to do substance substitution is that
Hmm.
the new substance is able to help them fulfill that emotional craving.
Hmm. Right. That makes sense. And while you're describing this, Nitin, this sounds very much like, the idea of positive intention that we have been talking about in the mind and body connection when we were talking about health and when we were talking about food and weight yesterday. So is positive intention also playing a role here?
Well, what we spoke about right now is actually a positive intention, right? The fact that the person wants to is getting something emotional in return
Hmm.
by smoking, that by
Hmm.
itself tells us that it is a positive intention. So yes,
Hmm.
positive intention is playing a very important role at this place, right?
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, and there can be positive intentions at multiple levels.
Okay. All right. All right. And can you give an example of how the addiction is fulfilling the positive intention or the physical feeling?
Okay. So do you notice how a lot of people say that addiction at times is a result of peer pressure?
Yes.
So let's see
Hmm.
what's happening in peer pressure. So
Hmm.
I'm a child who's growing up. I
Hmm.
noticed that I didn't have too many friends. Then I
Right.
saw these group of people in my school who were like the cool people.
Hmm.
I started interacting with one of those people, and I thought that I want to be a part of this group. Now, when I was
Correct.
introduced to this group, all
Hmm.
people in that group were smoking.
Hmm.
So now I wanted to make them feel that I'm a part of this group, that I belong over here,
Hmm.
right? So,
Right.
in order to show to them that I belong over here, I start smoking.
Hmm.
Now, technically, I wanted to show to them that I belong over there because I also wanted to belong there. I was
Right.
looking for the comfort of being a part of a group,
Correct.
right? So, wouldn't this
Makes
then
sense.
become a positive intention that when that smoking is then being driven by the positive intention in this case of wanting
Hmm.
to feel a part of a group,
Correct.
right? Now, what
Hmm.
happens is over a period of time, once I become a part of this group, my mind
Hmm.
creates an association that in
Hmm.
order to feel that I'm a part of a group, I smoke.
Hmm.
So smoking
Hmm.
makes me feel a part of something.
Correct.
So whenever I'm by myself or I'm alone
Hmm.
and I want to feel that I'm a part of something, what would my
Hmm.
mind want to do?
The
It
same,
would want
the same behavior. It will take it. Yeah. I'll smoke or whatever that behavior is.
correct. So and that's the reason why you will actually notice a lot of people telling you that I have a tendency to smoke a lot when I'm alone or
Hmm.
when I'm with a group of people who all smoke. But otherwise, when I'm with my friends who don't smoke, there are times when I don't even realize where the time has gone by.
Hmm.
Right? So that
Correct. Correct.
association is what is
Hmm.
actually to a large extent reminding them of their addiction,
Hmm.
which is one.
Correct.
Now, if
Hmm.
and at times the associations broaden. So let's
Hmm.
say
Hmm.
um, I used to smoke with my friends at 7 o'clock in the evening,
Right.
right? So now there
Hmm.
was an earlier association that smoking makes me feel a part of a group,
Hmm.
and then over a period of time, those good feelings are also associated when I am with my friends at 7 o'clock.
Correct.
So now every day it's 7, I also feel the need to smoke because it's the same association that plays up.
Almost like an invisible alarm, right?
Correct. It's almost like an invisible alarm which you're not able to control, and your body many a times just responds to it without you even consciously realizing it.
Hmm. Right. Makes
Right?
sense.
So these
Hmm.
associations can become like broader and broader, and then it obviously then people start using it also saying that when I feel stressed, because for a lot
Hmm.
of people smoking or alcohol makes them feel lighter.
Hmm.
Then the association is whenever I want to feel light, I can
Hmm.
smoke or I can drink.
Hmm.
And whenever
Right.
they are under intense stress,
Hmm.
the system then naturally wants to move towards
Smoking.
correct or alcohol as the case may be.
Hmm. 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 Right. Right. Makes sense.
Then
Makes
then there are places where certain people do substance abuse, and
sense.
certain substances actually burn certain parts of your brain cells,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's what creates a high feeling. But that only happens in the initial instance when you take that substance for the first time.
Right.
Now, what happens is because you've experienced that high, and the system
Hmm.
now wants to experience that high again.
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
people level of substance, that's not enough
Hmm.
for that high, and that's the reason why
Hmm.
they need to keep increasing the consumption of that substance,
Hmm. Right.
right? And well, obviously, then over a period of time, because you have been using that substance, whether it's whether it's cigarettes, it's alcohol, it's
Hmm.
a uh, that then eventually leads to your body also craving for it.
Correct. Right. Right. And while you're talking about a need for the body, this happens even with regular tea and coffee drinkers. People will say that when we don't get it, so it's almost like the withdrawal symptoms. They'll say I'm not feeling good, my like they're in a bad mood, and for people around them it becomes very difficult to understand how bad could not having a cup of tea be for you. So you're telling me that they are literally craving for that cup of tea or coffee.
If it's an addiction, yes, and that's actually one of the reasons why people around addicts find it very difficult to cope up with what's happening because they have not experienced their addiction, and therefore they are not able to understand or comprehend what the other person is going through.
Hmm. Hmm. Correct. So then, a lot of people say that they connect this to like a moral failing, that you should have a strong willpower to get over the addiction. So, what do you have to say about that? Because when we are talking about cravings at physical and emotional level and such strong cravings and such strong associations, so what role does willpower have to play?
See, willpower will be very useful for you to not get into intense addictions in the first place,
Hmm.
right? But if you've
Hmm.
got into a like a really intense addiction,
Hmm.
then for most people it's not as simple as willpower. Because if they really had the willpower which was strong enough, then why would they even get into that addiction to such intensity?
Correct.
What can happen at times is
Hmm.
more than the willpower, there are other factors that can tell your mind that it's important for you to let go of this. So, for
Hmm.
example, I was working with someone who was addicted to cigarettes, right?
Hmm.
And to the
Hmm.
god of her, she was not able to quit cigarettes.
Hmm.
But the day she realized that she's pregnant,
Hmm.
smoking stopped.
Oh,
So the
right.
positive intention of giving up cigarettes for her, the safety
Hmm.
and survival of the child,
Hmm.
was far more stronger than probably the craving or the positive intention she was having
Hmm.
with respect to smoking.
So while there was a positive intention behind smoking, there was a stronger positive intention behind not smoking, so to say.
Correct. Now,
Hmm.
the flip side
That's
of this is when she
hmm.
delivers the baby,
Hmm. What then?
because a new positive intention is addressed
Hmm.
and the old one may still remain,
Hmm.
she may still go back to addict to the cigarette again. And therefore, we had to work with her in a way in which we ensure that those positive intentions are also addressed completely.
Or as you said, they might substitute it with another substance. Maybe.
Correct, but obviously when we are doing therapy and so on, then we take care of the fact that those symptom substitution doesn't. Also,
Right.
when I'm talking about addiction and willpower, right? It's more easier to say with respect to tea and coffee and cigarettes,
Okay.
right? But with
Hmm.
alcohol and with like substances, this could be a
Hmm.
lot more difficult. In fact, even cigarettes, while it's
Hmm.
comparatively easier when you compare it with respect to the substance and alcohol, even for
Hmm.
some people, cigarette addictions can be difficult to deal with
Hmm.
by themselves.
Hmm. All right, all right. And Nitin, there is a like there are. I think it's almost anecdotal that there are so many cases where people say that children who come from dysfunctional families, may end up becoming addicts. What do you have to say about that?
God bless you. So, all right. So we are talking about different reasons why people become addicts, right? So one reason
Hmm.
was, as I said, there can be positive intention.
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
there
Hmm.
are places where, yeah, there are dysfunctionalities in the families, which
Hmm.
leads a person towards addiction. For example, let's say there
Hmm.
was someone who, so there's this man, he has
Hmm.
been brought up by a single mother. Mother has done everything she can to take care of the man,
Right.
right? So the mother expects the man to support her,
The son. Yes. Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
she's correct in her expectation, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, this particular man finds someone in his office, gets married to her. The girl
Hmm.
who he has got married to is leaving
Hmm.
her family to go back to his family and become a part of his family.
Hmm.
So her life is going through a major transition.
Correct.
And obviously, she also expects him to support her when there is a conflict.
Hmm.
Now, what if there's a conflict between the mother and wife? What does the man do?
What if there's a conflict?
Between the mother and the wife.
They'll fight
Correct. So they will fight, and both of them expect him to take their side,
to
which
support them. Yeah.
correct, which basically makes his life very difficult. Because if he supports the
Correct.
mother, the wife is
Hmm.
angry. If he supports the wife, the mother is angry, and so on, right?
Hmm. Correct.
Now, slowly and gradually, he's getting more and more stressed, more and more concerned.
Yes.
So that starts
Hmm.
influencing his performance in the office.
Okay.
His boss notices that.
Hmm.
And because he was a star performer, the boss is concerned about his performance. The boss says that tonight we are going for a party. Why not come to the party with us?
Okay.
So he goes for the party, and boss then offers him a glass of drink.
Hmm.
And he says, I understand you have tension. Have a couple of pecks. This will make you feel better. This will make you feel lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Now this man is having alcohol for the first time. A few packs and he's down, and his inhibitions are away. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what alcohol does.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now he goes home in that state. The
Hmm.
moment he reaches, the mother first opens the door and starts telling him everything that the wife has done.
Hmm.
But now his inhibitions are down.
Hmm.
So what does he do? He shouts back at the mother, and she says, "You don't want to be in this house. Get lost."
Hmm.
And now all of a sudden, the mother is shocked.
Hmm.
So she goes quiet.
Hmm.
He goes into the room, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden realizes that the wife also starts shouting at him.
Hmm.
Now, the moment the wife starts shouting at him, he
Hmm.
again his inhibitions are down, so he gives it back to the wife also,
Hmm.
and he tells the wife, "Get lost. I don't want you to be in my house."
Hmm.
Now, the moment he says that, the wife is also in shock.
Hmm.
After like months, the man has been able to sleep peacefully.
Hmm.
Wasn't it the alcohol that helped him sleep peacefully in a way?
In a way, yes.
Next morning, he gets up and he realizes there was something wrong. I made a mistake. I did something which will come back to bite me. But
Hmm.
because the mother and the wife both are in shock, who do they
Hmm.
blame for the man's behavior?
Hmm. The fact that he drank.
Correct. So they end up blaming the alcohol. And the moment they
Hmm.
blame the alcohol and they say, you should not drink, and because of drinking, you behaved in this way, the man
Hmm.
realizes this is good. I can come back, I can say whatever I want to say,
Hmm.
I can sleep peacefully, and I'm
Hmm.
not the one blamed, it's the alcohol that gets blamed.
Hmm.
Now, would it motivate him to drink every night before he comes home? And he's not even feeling guilty now because he knows, oh, I wasn't in control.
Obviously, because there is a huge benefit. He feels lighter, and his life is more peaceful.
Correct. So now, if he keeps doing this over and over again, is there a
Hmm.
possibility that he'll get addicted to that alcohol?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes.
Yes. But while
Hmm.
he's addicted to the alcohol, and obviously he was not able to cope up with the dysfunctionality in the family. But then the
Hmm.
thing is that there is also dysfunctionality in the family,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And not just this. Matlab, another example of this is there are cases where kids get into addiction because parents are constantly fighting with each other.
Hmm.
For the child, when I am in a problem, so when I get into addiction and I'm in a problem, and all of this is happening unconsciously, by the way.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
But
Hmm.
while I'm an addict, because
Hmm.
my life is so messed up that my
Hmm.
parents are focusing on me, they are not
Hmm.
fighting with each other. My way of
Hmm.
ensuring that my parents don't fight with each other is to ensure that I keep going deeper and deeper into a problem, which means that I get more and more addicted to the substance.
Hmm.
It's
Right.
sad, but then that again brings us back to family dysfunctionality.
Correct. Correct. Makes sense.
Right? So what we're basically saying is even in these cases where there are family dysfunctionalities,
Hmm.
there is
Hmm.
actually
Hmm.
still a positive intention because
Hmm.
eventually the person is trying to achieve an objective through that
Hmm.
addiction.
Hmm. Correct. Makes sense. So, this can happen with any substance and even behaviors, right? In one episode, you spoke about becoming addicted to love or a relationship. So, what about that?
Yes, addiction can actually be to any of these things. Obviously, there are certain things which have addictive qualities. So, for
Hmm.
example, cigarettes and
Nitin,
alcohol and
before you
substances.
begin, Nitin, before you
Hmm.
begin, there's a question related to this, and maybe
Hmm.
you'll answer it while you are explaining this.
Hmm.
Simar is asking, why does it get difficult for one to leave a toxic relationship or fall back into it again and again? Does it fall under addictions?
So, Simar, I'm going to answer this question in another 2 minutes
Right,
because I am going to talk about relationship as an addiction after this. All right.
right, perfect,
Uh,
perfect.
so, coming back to what I was saying, can you just repeat your question again? What you said?
So I say that the way, the way we are trying to understand addictions, how emotional issues or problems at an emotional level can lead to an addiction, and then create physical cravings, physical symptoms as well. So I was asking, so this can happen with any, not only smoking or alcohol. Can this happen with any substance, or and even behaviors for that matter, like love?
So, yeah, so to an extent, it can happen with any substance and behavior. So, wherever,
Hmm.
just go back to the definition. Whenever you are not able to stop something that you want to stop,
Hmm.
because it is driven by some craving and withdrawing from it creates, then it's an addiction, whatever it is. That will be the simplest way
Okay.
of understanding it. Obviously,
Okay.
there are certain things which have more addictive qualities. So, for example, when we talk about tobacco or cigarettes or alcohol or substances, they
Hmm.
themselves have an addictive quality. So, apart from the fact that you are addicted by them, they also have
Hmm.
their own qualities to keep you hooked onto it,
Correct.
right? But
Hmm.
when it comes to love,
Hmm.
in most cases, addiction to love is generally driven by either a
Hmm.
internal sense of a feeling that generally a fear that my partner completes me, and without my partner, I would be all alone. That I'll not be able to survive without them,
Correct. Correct.
right? Now, I understand the idea that I love my partner so much that I want to be with my partner, and I'm willing to try
Correct.
everything I can to be with my partner. I wouldn't really call it an
Correct.
addiction,
Correct.
but it reaches a place where I'm willing to harm my partner if my partner is not with me, or I'm willing to
Hmm.
harm myself if my partner is not with me. Then we are
Hmm.
reaching a level of addiction,
Correct.
right?
Right.
And I don't
Right.
know if you've seen, there was a movie in between, Ashiki 2,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which was
Yes.
about
Uh,
Shraddha Kapoor and the actor's
uh,
name is
I'm forgetting. Aditya Roy Kapoor, I think.
Aditya Roy Kapoor, correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people thought that that movie was about addiction to alcohol, of,
Yes.
and Aditya Roy Kapoor was addicted to alcohol. But there's a
Correct.
scene in that movie which actually describes addiction to love aptly. There's a scene
Hmm.
where Aditya Roy Kapoor has been put into a jail because he went and created a ruckus in one of the parties
Scene.
related
Huh.
to that,
Hmm.
a scene
Hmm.
where Shraddha Kapoor was supposed to be there, and then Shraddha Kapoor goes to that police station and is
Hmm.
requesting the police officer to leave
Hmm.
Aditya Roy Kapoor, to release him. And in
Hmm.
that moment, the way she is behaving,
Hmm.
the way she's begging and matlab, the
Pleading.
entire pleading, when you see it, it's almost like an addict would behave when they are trying to ask for a substance that they're addicted to and they're not getting it.
Hmm. Right.
Matlab,
Yes.
that scene really describes and defines what an addiction to love can be like,
Hmm. Right.
right? So for all
Mm-hmm.
those people out there who feel that they are in love and therefore they are going to die without their partner,
Mm-hmm.
friends, that's not love, that's addiction. That's
That's a very interesting way of putting it. Right.
correct. And again, I agree. And I understand the fact that if someone says that I love my partner so much that I'm willing to do everything I can to be with them, I'm willing to
Hmm.
wait my entire life for them.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a separate issue. But I'm willing
Hmm.
to wait for my entire life in a way in which I'm going to make my life miserable, or I'm going
Hmm.
to make her or his life miserable. That is not love, then that's an addiction. Or I'm going to kill
Hmm.
myself, I'm going to kill them. Then what we are talking about is like that goes beyond the definition of love per se.
Correct.
And that's where Simmer's question comes in, that when she says that why
Hmm.
is it so difficult to get out of a toxic relationship, and
Hmm.
why do we keep falling back into it again and again? Because
Hmm.
see what happens is, so I don't know whether I will really, can I really call it like clinical addiction or not. I think that will
Hmm.
be pushing it a bit far. But the
Hmm.
underlying principle is the same, that the I'm trying to achieve a feeling through that
Hmm.
relationship
Hmm.
that I feel I will not have without the relationship,
Hmm.
right? And that's the
Correct.
reason why whenever that relationship is about to get over, that
Hmm.
withdrawal symptom starts setting in, where I start thinking, where I start feeling that, well, maybe I would not be able to survive without him or her. What if I'm
Hmm.
all alone? What if there's no one to love me? So
Hmm.
that need, that craving for being a part of something which is more than you, a relationship,
Hmm.
someone who would be there for you, that
Hmm.
craving can then put us into this loop where my craving wants to keep me in the relationship, and when I try to get out of the relationship, the withdrawal symptoms, the fact that I'm all alone, and I start feeling I don't know what to do with my day, and I start sweating, and I start having panic attacks, then all of that takes me back to my partner again,
Correct. Right.
right?
Makes sense.
If you
Hmm.
have to work with this, I think
Hmm.
we covered this during the relationship wala video, but
Hmm.
if this needs to be addressed, then you have to begin by learning to love yourself. And I know it sounds that this is easier said than done. It's actually
Hmm.
not too difficult. If you know what needs to be done, this can be done.
Hmm.
You should be willing
Hmm.
to do it. And if you're not able to do it on your own, visit a therapist. They will be able to help you and guide you to do it. I am guessing most therapists are well trained to do it. If you're
Hmm.
not sure, and if you visited a therapist and that's not worked for you, maybe give us a
Hmm.
call, maybe search for a cognitive hypnotic psychotherapist, and they should surely
Right.
be able to help you because they've obviously been trained into all of these things.
Perfect. Perfect. And Nitin, what about, we spoke about this, what about addiction to meditation? We said people are addicted to spiritual groups, people are addicted to the meditation itself. So is that also addiction?
Yeah, I understand a lot of people don't really think of it as an addiction, and meditation is the buzzword, and people say that everyone should
Hmm.
meditate. But the
Hmm.
fact that someone says someone is dying in my house, but I need to go to a meditative center because if I don't go for my meditation, I feel extremely bad and extremely angry.
Then that's classic addiction.
I mean, matlab, there's really no other way of describing it, right?
Right. Correct. Makes sense. Makes sense. And what about electronic addictions, the new age addiction, social media addiction?
So before I answer that question, I would request all of you who are watching the video right now to just
Hmm.
send a hi to us so that we know who all are there and that you are watching and you're listening. And if you have any questions, then please also share your questions with us. But if you don't have a question, then at least say hi so that we know that who all are there who are watching this.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect.
And can you repeat that question again, please? Sorry.
So I said, what about the new age electronic gadget addictions, PUBG addiction, social media addiction, Netflix addiction?
So I think I had said this earlier.
Hmm.
Electronics is one of those things which it will actually go away from the category of addiction to the category of need now to some extent, right? Because our life more or less matlab, everything that we do, kids study today, they have to study on internet,
Hmm.
they have to research on internet,
Hmm.
almost everything revolves around computers now.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So and as an extension of it, now that our phones are becoming so advanced, we can do a lot of things that we were earlier doing on computers on phones.
Correct.
So
Correct.
technically, phones and computers may actually have also become a part of our daily requirement. So I
Hmm.
wouldn't call using electronics as an addiction, but what do you use that electronic for? Is I
Hmm.
would is probably the basis on which I would decide whether that's an addiction or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for example, if you feel that unless I use my mobile phone, I
Hmm.
can't even sleep,
Hmm.
then that's an addiction. But if you're using your mobile phone because you need to complete some work, and when you don't have that work, you don't really need that mobile phone,
Hmm.
then that's not
Hmm.
an addiction,
Right.
right?
Right.
With kids, especially now, so many parents complain that my child is addicted to the phone or to the
Hmm.
screen, right? Uh,
Hmm.
uh, no one really wonders how did the child get addicted to it, did they? Who puts that
Hmm.
screen in their hand in the first place?
Hmm. Right. Yesterday, when we were talking about food, we did talk about this, that it's they who initially introduced the child to the, what should I say, the interesting screen or the curiosity behind the screen.
Correct. And then what happens is because the screen has its own qualities,
Hmm.
it makes your mind run in a particular way,
Hmm.
right? And then we start getting we kind of start craving again that kind of action that is happening on the screen.
Correct.
Uh, Similarly, when we talk about kids and parents, one of the things that we keep telling parents is if your child is getting addicted to electronics, please stop using electronics in front of them. If you think you're going to sit and watch
Right.
Netflix in front of them and you're going to tell them that better you should use electronics in moderation, I'm sorry, that doesn't work.
Makes sense.
In fact, I understand there are places where parents actually have a genuine problem that we really have to work and we are not passing time on electronics. But the child doesn't realize that, right? The child is simply seeing you're sitting with a laptop. You may be working on it, but the child realizes it's okay to sit with a laptop or a phone for 24/7 or as long as they're awake.
Hmm. Right. Makes sense.
Right? So it's important for parents to kind of take care of that. But then
Hmm.
that falls into the category of parenting more than really addiction.
Right.
And by
Makes
the
sense.
way, we have added one more episode in the True
Yes.
Talk.
Yes.
Tomorrow we will not be doing Destiny of Choice. We are pushing it for day after tomorrow. Tomorrow we
Hmm.
will be doing a talk on parenting.
Parenting. Right.
So
Right.
any of you who have questions on parenting, please shoot. Let us know so that we can address those questions tomorrow.
Right. Right. Before
And
I go forward, Jyoti has a question. She's saying it has not been answered, which is how to get over addiction. Jyoti, I will be coming to your question very shortly because we're still talking about how addictions are caused. So I think Nitin will be addressing how to get over them after this.
correct, we are probably reaching there in another 5 7 minutes.
We're reaching there. Yes, yes, Jyoti. So I think that answers the question. So yes, sorry, you were talking about electronics, and I think yesterday or at some point you did talk about Netflix. So can you explain how Netflix is different than all these?
So, yesterday I had mentioned that Netflix will probably and when I say Netflix, Netflix is just an example, but Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all of these channels,
Hmm. Hmm.
these these applications that are there,
The web
they
streaming. Hmm.
web streaming platforms. Well,
Hmm. Hmm.
these probably will become the biggest addictions going forward. Matlab, every other addiction will look like a child addiction in front of them because
Hmm.
with most of their addictions, we understand there are side effects.
Correct.
Right? And you still have to put an effort. Even if you're addicted to a cigarette, you actually have to go to a shop to buy a cigarette.
Hmm. Correct.
Think of Netflix, you just have to switch on TV. And then
Hmm.
the episodes change by themselves.
Correct.
Right? Matlab, it's to an extent where you are not even controlling the fact that whether you're watching the next episode or not. And then the episodes are designed in a way in which at the end of each episode you're any which is curious, so you can't stop right now.
Yeah. The cliffhanger they leave you at.
Correct.
Correct. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So this could be like a big challenge
Yeah,
for
this
everyone.
I personally think this will probably be the biggest addiction in the coming months. And
Hmm.
the current lockdown phase worldwide is almost like,
Boosted.
yeah, it's boosted the same.
Right. Right. Even people who are not watching Netflix are now watching it because they have time to spend on it.
Correct. And once they start watching it, and once they start watching one series,
Hmm.
then you want to see to the end of it. And then when the series comes to an end and you're about to think that, well, I'm going to go off Netflix, they recommend because you watch this, there are other.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't even have to use your mind in choosing because if you watched a thriller, they'll recommend all kinds of thrillers. If you watched something else, a romantic movie, they'll prompt that, and they'll automatically start playing even if you don't choose. So yes, you are right. That could
So
be a
it's
big
designed
thing.
in a way in which they can get you addicted to it.
True, true. So anyone out there who watches Netflix, beware. Take it with a pinch of salt. Uh, be careful about what you're getting into. Okay, that's interesting. Nitin, we have spoken a lot about what causes addictions, what happens while you're developing the addiction. Now, can we come to how to deal with addictions?
Okay. So, one, if the addiction is already intense,
Right.
Okay, then I would
Mm.
suggest go and visit a therapist.
Right.
I know what I'm saying, some of you may get disappointed by, but if the
Mm.
addiction is very intense, it's better to seek
Mm.
help of a specialist and
Mm.
who can help you get over that addiction. Now, which
Correct.
specialist you connect with will depend
Mm.
upon what addiction you have. So
Right.
if you have, so if it's, let's say, about smoking,
Mm.
and you're like really heavy smoker, then just
Mm.
visiting a therapist or a cognitive hypnotic psychotherapist should be enough. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
addicted to, let's say, to alcohol or to substance, and the
Mm-hmm.
addiction is really bad, is really
Mm.
intense, then in
Mm.
that case, being a part of a rehabilitation center where they can actually help you get off the alcohol and substance completely first,
Mm.
and in that rehabilitation center, if they also have a therapist, then that should be a good idea. Though my
Right.
suggestion would be when you're working with therapists, because all therapists also have their own approaches to work with, please
Mm-hmm.
ensure that if you're really looking for sustainable results when it comes to
Mm.
de-addiction,
Mm.
it's not just about going off the substance, it's also
Mm.
about working with the underlying cause behind it. And the
Right.
causes will either be intense negative emotion
Or positive
that
intent.
you're trying to overcome or positive
Mm.
intention.
Correct. Makes sense. Makes sense. Correct. So, mm, so then what do we? So then what is like? What can a common person or what can people do generally?
All right. So, what I'm going to share with you now, the tips that I'm going to share are more about ensuring that if you have not yet reached the level of addiction, how do you
Hmm.
stop from reaching there?
Yes, that makes sense. Yes.
Right? Which is one.
Yes.
And then if
Hmm.
you're into smoking or tea or coffee, some of these addictions, but basically you're
Hmm.
not into alcohol and substance addiction, then probably these techniques will still be handy for you to be able to cut down on your usage and over a period of time also probably get over it completely.
Correct. Makes sense.
Okay. But
Hmm.
I'm just repeating this again, especially with substance and alcohol. I am saying that visiting a rehabilitation center is probably your best bet to start with,
Correct. Right.
right? All right. So now,
Hmm.
what are the things that you can do? Remember, when a lot of people start smoking or
Hmm.
drinking, they start
Hmm.
doing it socially.
Right.
So ideally, I would suggest that avoid this completely. Having
Hmm.
said that, I understand that there are certain places, certain cultures, certain
Hmm.
you're a part of certain society groups where
Hmm.
having alcohol or smoking may just be
Hmm.
like one of those things which is just done. It's there, right? And
Yeah.
you're not doing it
Yes.
frequently, but
Hmm.
once you're in that group, it's considered to be like one of those things that you do as a part of that group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? You were saying something, Mamta.
No, I said it's social acceptance is and easy availability. I think are two big factors that contribute to smoking and drinking, especially being so prevalent.
Correct. And so one is social acceptance, and second is there are certain groups where people will actually tell you, "Acha, ek le lena,"
The peer pressure, so to say. Yeah.
right? So that peer pressure is still there. So,
Hmm.
and at times, while I would still suggest avoid, and you should be able to manage that, but if you're not able to,
Hmm.
then limit your intake only to those groups. And when you are in those groups, mentally
Hmm.
decide in advance how
Hmm.
much is the quantity that you are going to stop at. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
smoking, mentally tell yourself, I'll stop at half a cigarette,
Hmm.
right? And then once you reach the half a cigarette, stop. If you're able to stop, then you know it's not yet an addiction.
Hmm.
But the
Correct.
day comes where you realize that I have had half a cigarette. I told myself I'll stop after this, but I wasn't able to stop myself. I did not
Hmm.
even realize when I finished the entire cigarette.
Hmm.
Then it's time that you start working with managing your thoughts and emotions.
Correct. Makes sense.
And then at least for some time, quit that completely. Now, how do
Mm-hmm.
you do that? For example, a lot of people who have tried quitting smoking have come and told me that, Nitin, every time I look at a cigarette, I have this
Hmm.
thought that this is my last one.
Hmm.
And that thought kind of permits them to have that cigarette again.
Correct.
And the problem is the next time when they look at the cigarette, they forget that the last time they told themselves the last one is the last one. So now
Correct.
they look at the cigarette and they tell themselves, "This is my last one again,"
Hmm.
and
Right.
that last one never really comes,
Or they say kal se.
or they say "Kal se."
Huh.
Right now,
Hmm.
the idea is this thought, "This is my last one," is more an automatic thought.
Correct.
So what you need to do is you need to be able to train your mind to create an alternate automatic thought instead of "This is the last one." Yeah, "Kal se."
Mm-hmm.
So the client that I'm talking about actually told me that I would rather like to remember my last one was the last one.
Hmm.
So then we simply did a when then statement. When I look at a cigarette, then I realize the last one was the last one.
Hmm. That's actually
And
very
because
smart.
correct, and because that is the first thought that comes to his mind, and
Hmm.
we have kind of literally programmed that mind to have that thought, it
Hmm.
becomes a lot more easier for him to quit.
Hmm.
Right? But to be
Hmm.
true, while we
Hmm.
were working with this, he also mentioned to me that smoking helps him feel relaxed.
Hmm.
So we also asked him to identify what are the other things that he can do which will help him relax.
Correct.
Right? So which
Hmm.
in his case was just observing his breath.
Hmm. Okay.
Right? So the moment he saw a cigarette, the first
Hmm.
thought in his head was, "My last one was the last one," and that
Hmm.
would then eventually lead to him observing his breath for the next couple of rounds, which will then
Hmm.
just make him calmer and more relaxed.
Right. Right.
Right?
Makes sense.
Uh,
Hmm.
and this seems to have worked for him quite well. Matlab, I followed it with him for at least the next 6 months, and he did not smoke for next 6 months. And if he would have called me up again, because most of my clients, if they ever experience a relapse, they get in touch with me again.
Okay. Okay. But if we are addressing the positive intention, then there'll be very, very small chance that relapse would occur, right?
Yeah, once you have addressed the positive intention, the chances of relapse they almost become nil. There can be one-off instances where relapse happens for some other reason, but
Mm-hmm.
generally the relapse doesn't happen.
Correct. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay?
Right.
And again, when I say if then, this is more
Hmm.
for cigarettes and uh, tea, coffee, and chewing gum and all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
You can still try this with alcohol, especially if you have
Okay.
not become a heavy alcohol
Okay.
person, right?
Okay.
So if you're
Okay.
trying to limit the intake of your alcohol, a good
Hmm.
when then statement can be, "When I have the third pack, I realize this is my last one."
Okay.
So the idea is you're basically training your mind to tell you when to stop.
Hmm.
But if you're not able to stop with this, then probably visiting a therapist will be a good idea.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Makes
Right?
sense. Hmm.
When we spoke about electronics,
Hmm.
right? Well, I've already said that I don't think every heavy use is an addiction. At times, it's just
Hmm.
the necessity of life right now,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Even when we are sitting and doing a live, we are doing it on a electronic,
Hmm.
right? On a laptop
Hmm.
or a phone.
Hmm.
So, well, it's just a part and parcel of life. But
Hmm.
then the point is that if you are doing something like Netflix,
Hmm.
and you're realizing that now you're getting addicted, that there are other things that you need to finish, but you're not finishing because you're too ingrained in that Netflix,
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
then start creating a schedule for yourself that I will only watch Netflix or Amazon Prime at this time.
Hmm.
Put an alarm
Hmm.
which will remind you, and again do
Hmm.
an if then statement which will make your mind off it
Right. Right.
between episodes. Don't let the episode change by itself.
Okay.
When the episode comes to an end, pause
Hmm.
it, get up, walk around, have a sip of water, probably talk to your family member, even if you want to talk to the family members about the episode that you watched,
Hmm.
that's okay. But do
Okay.
something to create a break in between because your mind knows it's more in control. It's choosing when to break and when to start again. Otherwise, when that episode changes by itself, you're even
Hmm.
losing control over there.
Right.
When it comes to addiction, it's very important for you to have some semblance of control over what's happening in your life,
Correct.
right? Then when it
Right.
comes to mobile application like social media
Yes.
application,
Yes. Yes.
again the
Yes.
way their notifications are,
Hmm.
okay, the fact that you post something, people comment on it, people like it, there's this reward that is being built in. You're actually feeling good, appreciated when people do all of that,
Yes.
and then your
Yes.
mind starts craving for that appreciation,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So make it a schedule that I'm only going to check my notifications uh, at these times during the day,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Similarly, when it comes to WhatsApp, for example, If people really want to connect with you, they have your number, they can call you up.
Correct.
Tell them that I only check my WhatsApp messages during like 3 times a day or 4 times a day at max.
Hmm. Right.
Because
Makes sense.
otherwise, there are so many notifications that come that if you keep checking your phone every time there's a notification, even
Hmm.
if you are not addicted, you will end up getting addicted because your system is kind of learning that behavior through repetition,
Correct. Right.
right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Also, the same applies to your email, but I do understand that with emails and so on, at times your work depends on it, so you may need to check it more frequently. But in my
Hmm.
personal life, I have done this actually. So while we do a lot of things online, right?
Yes.
People around me know that if they really want to reach me immediately, then they have to give me a call. If you send me a message or a WhatsApp or an email, I will get
Hmm.
back to you. But then I'll get back to you when I check it out, which will probably be somewhere after a couple of hours.
Hmm. Correct.
So have that
Right.
kind of a discipline for yourself.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
I spoke about kids earlier. I'm just repeating this again that kids learn by observation.
Hmm.
So ensure that you are not using electronics too much in front of them, which
Hmm.
is one.
Hmm.
Second, if you have a particular behavioral tantrum,
Hmm.
the child will pick that up also because the child realizes that's the way of getting things done,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So if you end up having alcohol every time you are stressed, you are actually eventually taking the child to that state. If not today, then when the child grows up.
Correct. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
And
Perfect.
also with your children, if the child is at a particular age where they have to use electronics, you need to
Hmm.
focus more on regulating what kind of usage they are having rather than actually they're using the electron.
Right, right. Nitin, with children, another thing that happens is, as you said, now gadgets are like part of their studies also. But their free time, relaxation, entertainment is also on the gadgets. So parents feel that they are on the gadget 24/7 because both productive work and recreation they need the gadget for. And I have seen children complaining when their parents tell them to go play outside. I've seen children complaining that all my friends are on the gadgets. There's nobody outside in the playground. So who do I go play with? If I want to play with them, I have to be on the gadget. So
Precisely.
that's another thing that we need to. So either then probably parents will have to find out ways to keep the child engaged, probably engage themselves. So like we are in lockdown together, so probably sit down and play games with them, like board games or card games or whatever it is. So I think parents will have to step up and kind of recognize their role in it and execute it.
True, very true.
Right? Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. But then while we have spoken about all this, and I am sure a lot of people also understand, if not all of it, some parts of it, then why are people not even willing to let go of their addictions?
See, so it's very rare for you to come across a person who's not actually willing to let go of addictions. Most people that I've spoken to
Hmm.
who are into addictions, when
Hmm.
I've asked them, a lot
Hmm.
of them have told me that there comes a time when we realize our addiction is creating a problem for us,
Hmm. Hmm.
or at least our behavior is creating a problem for us. And that's the time when we start realizing that we are not in control of what's happening.
Okay.
And a lot of them have actually tried quitting. It's not that they've not tried, they've tried quitting, but by
Hmm.
themselves, they've not succeeded.
Okay.
And because they've not succeeded by themselves, then it becomes very difficult for them to acknowledge that they are not able to quit something which they started in the first place.
Right.
And that's when, in order not to feel helpless, they start looking for justifications and rationalizations on why they are
Hmm.
not letting go of that particular substance.
Hmm.
Right?
Correct.
But
Hmm.
if it's reached a level of addiction where it's creating a problem for them, and I've
Hmm.
spoken to a lot of these people, eventually it boils down to this that it's not that I
Hmm.
don't want to quit, I don't think I'm capable of quitting. And that's the reason why I
Ah,
feel it's so much of an effort that it's just easier to continue with this.
correct. Yes.
Right? And that's
That.
the reason why when we talk about addictions, we
Hmm.
actually prefer that you incorporate processes to work with the unconscious mind because eventually that
Hmm.
addiction, that craving is not something that they are creating consciously. They don't look at a substance or an alcohol or a cigarette and tell themselves, now I want to create that craving and have that craving in my body. Right? It's
Yes.
not a conscious choice. The fact that they started was a conscious choice. That I understand. But today, when they are in that heavy addiction, today it's not something that they're able to control. It's gone beyond their control. And to ask them to control it consciously, while it's possible, but it's very, very difficult. And they have to go through like a major conflict with themselves.
Right. Right.
And like I said earlier, I personally don't believe in the idea of having a conflict with yourself, because eventually one part of you loses, and whichever part of you loses is still you,
Right.
right? And
Makes
the
sense.
part that loses then also wants to recover and wants to win later on. So it becomes like a very internal, messy conflict that you're having with yourself. So when you make use of the unconscious, you're actually able to deal with these conflicts. You are able to deal with these cravings, which are any which ways at an unconscious level now. Well, you may experience them consciously, but you're not creating them consciously. They're being created unconsciously.
Makes sense. Yeah. True. True. So, we have discussed a lot of preventive measures, or while you realize that you're kind of slipping down that spiral, you can check yourself. And we understand that, if people are already addicted, or, they've started having those cravings and withdrawal symptoms, then they need a therapist. So, will it be okay to just go to a cognitive hypnotic psychotherapist, or go to a rehab, or both? So, what would be the right thing to
Uh, okay. So what will be the right thing to do?
do?
Can you working with cigarettes, tea, coffee, or any of these addictions? Then just going to a cognitive hypnotic psychotherapist would be good enough.
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
they're effectively trained to handle all of these things. But
Hmm.
if you're talking about addiction to substance and alcohol, and
Hmm.
if the addiction is intense, then as I said earlier, that I
Hmm.
would suggest that it will be a better idea for you to visit a rehab first, and
Hmm.
then while you are in that rehab, you continue complementary treatment through a therapist or a cognitive hypnotic therapist, or whoever is a therapist that's available in the rehab.
Perfect. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Perfect. I think, Nitin, that brings us to the culmination, the end of this episode. And Pankti and Chaya have said hello. Hi, Pankti. Hi, Chaya. Jyoti, I think we have answered your question now. And if there are any questions that remain unanswered, we'll answer them in our, I think, at the end of the series, right, Nitin?
We are planning to have like one last episode in the end where we will collate all the questions that have been asked after the videos were over and we have not answered, so that we can probably answer those questions at that point. Right now, also, while we are talking and while we are closing, if any of you have any questions, please ask us. So, if you ask us before we close the session, I would be more than happy to answer those questions.
Right. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Tomorrow we have our bonus episode, which is on parenting, because it has been cropping up in various discussions. We need to address it. So tomorrow we are going to discuss in great detail about parenting. And before I sign out, I would like to once again remind everyone who's there online about the various initiatives that iCharge Support Foundation is running. Most of them are non-profit, free of cost. There is an online helpline you can call and get in touch with mental health practitioners who are like certified cognitive hypnotic psychotherapists. They'll help you deal with any issues, any emotional issues, any mental health issues that you may be facing. You can join the online video support group to deal with COVID related anxiety very specifically. There is another online support group that is for the LGBTQ community and allies. So you can join that as well. These are all there on Facebook. And you can also join you can also share this with your Facebook friends and other social media friends so that they can also join in. Please do spread the word as much as possible so that maximum number of people can benefit from this. Thank you so much, Nitin, for another wonderful set of insights, understandings, so much value there in that content. And thank you everyone who's joined us today once again. We'll be back again, same time on FB Live, 5:30 p.m. with another episode, which is on parenting tomorrow on True Talks. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Nitin.
Mamta. Thank
Bye-bye.
you, everyone else who were there today. See you tomorrow.
See you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye bye. Good night.